Hello, everyone. It's me, Amanda, with Once in a Wild, and it's not Once in a Wild Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. Surprise! We thought we would pop on here and actually do a little bit of an experiment today. As you guys may have known, last week we were on here on our regularly scheduled program, which is Wednesday evenings, every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central. We basically do a live stream just like this on Facebook and YouTube. It's not Wednesday today, like I said, so we're doing a little bit of an experiment. Let me explain. So last week we had a whole bunch of technical difficulties, which made our picture, unfortunately, a little bit pixelated and blurry. So we're starting over with a different method to see if it will work a little better. And you guys let me know how it looks out there. So hello, everyone. Welcome to our pop-up live stream. Normally, we do not broadcast on Tuesdays. We broadcast on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Central. And we will be back tomorrow, of course, with our regularly scheduled live stream free program, which we sorry, distracted by an animal over here, which we do broadcast every single Wednesday, like I said, at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you've never seen my face before, hello and welcome. My name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild. We are a mobile zoo based in San Antonio, Texas, and of course, that's South Texas. So we do service the South Texas areas, and we can bring the zoo to you, to your classroom, to your birthday party, etc. And we can also bring the zoo to you virtually as well. We do also provide virtual Zoom room animal encounters as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin just like we normally do since we're doing our experiment to see how it goes. Now, once again, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild. And just like usual, we do have animals on the show. Every single Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central, we usually have about 3 animals that basically come on board, and we teach you all about them. And you guys can comment with your questions and all kinds of concerns about the animals or whatever you want to know about your animals at home. We also do pet care consulting as well, and all kinds of things. So please let me know how it looks out there. I see a couple of you are watching already. Thank you for joining us on this random time. If you watch our show regularly, you'll know we usually are on here on every Wednesday, but we are actually broadcasting as an experiment right now to see how the quality looks, because we had some quality issues last week. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again to the best of our ability. No promises, right? But we are using a little bit of a different method today. And let's go ahead and talk about our first animal since he is cruising around on my table. We just have one animal for our short encounter that we're doing right now. It looks like maybe Ricky is answering, looks good. That's good. That must be Ricky because it's not me. So if you don't know us, my name is Amanda and Ricky is my fiance, and we own Once in a Wild together. That is a beautiful logo. It's everywhere. It's over here. It's over here. And Ricky is actually our creative director and the designer of our logo and all of our colors and everything else. So if you like all of that, that is because of Ricky. So let's go ahead and meet our first animal and only animal today. It's actually Eddie, our bearded dragon. Eddie hasn't been on a program in a while, so I thought I would bring him on for this short program. Like I said, typically we have around 3 or more, or sometimes less animals, but it's usually around 3. But today's just going to be Eddie by himself. He is a bearded dragon. Now, Eddie has a really fun story because he is a rescue bearded dragon. Bearded dragons end up being people's pets a lot of times because they are very docile lizards, and they end up being very popular in the pet trade. And I don't really blame people that want a pet bearded dragon, but a lot of them end up being rehomed, and that is the case of Eddie. So Eddie's story is kind of funny, and he's definitely an active bearded dragon, nice and healthy and robust, and wants to exercise today, I see. Eddie, settle down. We're doing a program. I'll let you have some exercise later. So usually they're a very calm type lizard. He's not hurting me or anything like that. He just wants to run around, I guess, and we'll let him relax. So these guys, like I said, are popular pets for all sorts of people. And what happened with Eddie is we actually got offered Eddie by a friend of mine that I used to work nearby at the San Antonio Zoo. So we didn't work together, but she's a reptile keeper at the San Antonio Zoo. She's actually one of the top reptile people over there in the San Antonio Zoo. Pretty cool. And she knows a lot about reptiles, of course. So what happened with that is somebody actually found Eddie on their porch. And I don't remember if it was their back porch or their front porch, but it was right here in San Antonio, Texas, where bearded dragons don't live. They're from Australia natively, so they definitely don't live in Texas. So he was wandering around their neighborhood, I guess, and ended up on their porch, either back or front porch. I'm not really 100% sure, but my friend let me know that her neighbor had offered the bearded dragon to her, I guess, just to try to find him a home. And I believe they were able to look for the owner for a while and put up flyers and posters and inquiries online, and nothing popped up. Nobody claimed our beautiful dragon Eddie here. So he was just a lost dragon wandering around San Antonio, Texas, where they are not native to. So surely either a abandoned pet, maybe a lost pet that ran away. I mean, who knows? Hi, Samantha. We're doing a pop-up encounter to make sure that our quality is okay for tomorrow. So last week we had some technical difficulties. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for saying it looks stellar. Are you talking about the quality, me, or Eddie? Maybe all three. But anyway, so Eddie was actually found, like I said, in somebody's neighborhood wandering around. Luckily, the Good Samaritan that found him was able to get him taken care of by finding him a temporary place to stay, which was at my friend's house. So she took good care of him in the meantime, but she actually offered him to Once in a Wild with us. So we happily took him in because bearded dragons are amazing animal ambassadors. So that's what all of our animals kind of have for a job, is to be an animal ambassador for their species. And what does that mean? Well, that basically means they're a good representation of their species, or at least able to tell the story of their species, right? So the bearded dragon, though they are a popular pet here in the United States and all over the globe, actually, because of their docile nature, and they don't get too much larger than Eddie here. They're just kind of an easier lizard to care for in that sense, although they do have special needs, and we can talk about that a little bit if you guys want. But Richard says all three. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you for tuning in to our surprise pop-up program. And again, we will be on tomorrow for our regularly scheduled time on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central. But these guys end up being popular pets, right? And for lots of reasons, like I said, and maybe we can get into that at the end of this little encounter, but also, these guys are native to Australia. So these guys aren't from the United States. They're not from any other place except for Australia, or I should say Australasia. I think that's what the continent is properly called nowadays in the schools. I've been learning a lot about what the kids nowadays are learning in schools, because we do a lot of Zooms for schools and other classroom programs. So I'm learning a lot of the lingo. So Australasia is the continent that the bearded dragon is from. And this is a central bearded dragon. So they usually live in the central portion of Australia and the mainland of Australia. And these guys can live in different habitats. They can certainly live in deserts and drier regions like that, but they can also live in forests and grasslands and savannas, all kinds of things like that as well. So they're pretty adaptable to different situations and different biomes or habitats. Pretty cool. These guys are omnivores as well. So out there in nature, as well as in the care of humans, they do eat both plants, fruits sometimes, as well as other animals. So they're going to be eating things like insects, bugs, all sorts of invertebrates, as well as spiders, all kinds of things like that. Worms, but they'll also eat an occasional small mammal, like a small mouse or other rodent, anything you can think of that can fit into his big old mouth. Kind of like a frog there with his big honking mouth. They can also eat smaller lizards. In fact, bearded dragons should not be kept together because they can potentially eat other lizards. So that's not necessarily a good idea to keep bearded dragons together. Now, a large bearded dragon and another large bearded dragon wouldn't be able to eat each other per se, but they might try to fight at least. So bearded dragons definitely prefer to live by themselves, unless you're a professional breeder or something like that. You definitely don't want to be keeping bearded dragons cohabitating together if you happen to have them at home or otherwise, a classroom or something like that. We don't recommend that at all. So these guys, what was I going to say? What else was I going to say about you guys? Well, they aren't really social, like I was saying before, but they do have their own territory. So males in their own natural habitat, and he thinks here as well, he's got his own territory in his habitat, right? Here behind the scenes that we have here Once in a While, his home, right? So he definitely thinks that's his territory, and it definitely is. We will definitely give you that, Eddie. But in the wild, they're going to make their own territories by fighting off other males. So male bearded dragons establish territories with body language and chasing around other males that they find in their own territories. They will use body language to communicate as well as chase away other males. So if they see another male in his territory, if he does, he will actually puff out his beautiful beard, which gives him his name, the bearded dragon. This beard will actually puff out really, really big and can turn black as well. And he can even turn parts of his body black as well if he gets really, really upset. So that black coloration is going to indicate that he is either trying to look really impressive or he's trying to scare away enemies, or he's upset for some reason. He is definitely upset. That is a communication tactic for them. They can change color with their chromatophores, which chameleons also have too. It's like little pores in their skin that change color. Pretty awesome. So that beard will puff out. It will change color, be pretty much black. That's what gives them their name, the bearded dragon. They look like they have a beard already, but that beard will puff out when they're upset or trying to communicate in some way or look big, maybe scare off a predator. That'd be another reason they could do that. And then their beard will also change color, looking like a real black beard. Pretty cool. Almost like the pirate Blackbeard. That'd be a good name for a bearded dragon, right? Blackbeard. He's like, nah, my name's Eddie. I like that name better. We do too. So then they will start to puff out their whole body, puff out their beard, and then they'll proceed to use body language. I'm going to show you by setting him down. I'm going to show you with my body language what they kind of do while I hold him still down here. He's our only animal here today, so he's just hanging out with me. So what they'll kind of do is, again, they're going to puff out their beard like a frog. They're going to probably change colors, at least on their beard, if not in other areas in their body and back. And they're also going to puff out their body. They'll stick out their chest like this. Oh, stick out their beard like this, and they'll kind of just like plant their feet. To get a little higher, they'll plant their feet like this and stick out their chest, stick out their beard, and say, "Come at me, bro." That is body language, which is pretty aggressive or at least defensive to their territory, right? In order to tell the other male bearded dragons he is not happy with them being around. He also might bob his head as well. That was just me, not him. Bob his head like that. That is kind of a lizard universal language for, hey, I'm upset. It could be also to court his lady friends as well. So I'll explain that in a little bit. But so if he sees the male, he's going to use all that body language. And if the other male that he is trying to like kind of chase away or threaten, if they do not want to fight, if that other male does not want to fight and he wants to be submissive, he will actually use his arm and wave at the first male and say, "Never mind, I do not want to fight today. I will leave. Do not worry." He'll wave like that, like a little Pocahontas wave, like literally just like that. It's kind of like on the side, like this. Wave and say, "It's okay. I'm going to go. We don't need to fight today. Everything's all right." So the waving arm is like kind of a white flag of peace, right? Makes sense. And did you know that bearded dragons wave? Isn't that cool? So if they do want to fight, though, and maybe that second bearded dragon does want to come into the first bearded dragon's territory to take over and steal all his girlfriends away, then he will not wave. He will plant his feet down as well, stick out his beard, stick out his chest, and say, "Come at me, bro." And then they will begin to bite one another and chase after each other, push each other around, all the things, until either one expires, you know what I mean, or one leaves and gives up. So typically it's going to be the second part. It's going to be one giving up and leaving, not necessarily expiring or passing away. Typically they don't fight that hard. But if you are keeping two male bearded dragons together in an enclosure, that doesn't give them the choice to run away, right? So they're going to be stuck together within barriers. So that's not really fair. So we definitely, again, do not recommend keeping bearded dragons together. Even if it is male and female, the male will not leave the female alone. She has nowhere to go. So remember, in the wild, these guys have huge, vast territories that are huge. I don't know how many miles or feet they are. I have to ask an Australian who studies bearded dragons in the wild. That's something for me to look up later, I guess. So these guys will have huge space to call their territory. That's my point. So the one male will have a huge area that he will defend from other males, right, to the best of his ability, until I guess a stronger, more capable male comes into the territory and kicks him out or something else. But within that territory, he can have many, many lady friends. So they have a harem situation. They are definitely not a monogamous animal, and they're not a loyal animal to their mates. They do have multiple mates. That's just the way that they live and choose to live. Isn't that cool? So that is something that bearded dragons do, is they use their arms to wave, they use their body language, they puff up their chest, they shake their neck around and look really tough. And they're called a bearded dragon because of their beard. Now, another reason he may stick out his beard, turn different colors, look impressive, is to, of course, impress his female potential mates. So if he sees a female, he's going to pretty much do similar things, but the female will typically stick around, and then he will be able to mate with her and have young with her. And these guys come from eggs. So what will happen during breeding time is they will come together for mating, and then the female will become pregnant, hopefully, right? And she will have those fertilized eggs, and then she will proceed to, of course, lay them when the time comes. I believe it's about a month or so that they are gravid. When we use the term gravid, that means pregnant in the reptile world, and also fish world and birds as well. So when we say gravid, that just means pregnant, same thing. So when that female is ready to lay her eggs, whenever that may be, and I don't remember how long because I'm not a bearded dragon breeder and I'm not interested in doing that, but it's something I could look up for you guys if you like. These guys will bury their eggs in the ground, kind of like a turtle does, and then they will leave them. And those eggs will incubate on their own, and little baby bearded dragons will hatch out when their incubation period is done. I do believe that is about a month as well. Aren't they cute? Bearded dragons are very popular. He's extremely active right now, but they're known for being a very, very placid and calm lizard. Let's see if he'll hang out on my shoulder. Sometimes he'll just chill out on my shoulder. So Eddie is actually one of the animals that we can actually provide for animal therapy. We talked about animal therapy last week, and I know the quality was really, really pixelated, but I think the audio is still okay. So hopefully you guys were able to learn about animal therapy and what we do in that way. Look at him chilling out on my shoulder. They're super cool. But did you know that lizards can be animal therapy animals or therapy animal? Lizard therapy. So what we can do is actually have you guys, if you book us for a animal therapy type encounter or petting encounter, we can set you up with something in your lap like a pillow or a mat and have Eddie just hang out on your lap, and you can see how rough his skin is and touch him. Bearded dragons are very safe to touch and handle. You saw him kind of running around, but I think he's just ready to be really active right now. Once they cool off and kind of hang out for a while, they calm down really well. Let's see what you guys have to say. Looks stellar. Thank you so very much. Hello, Samantha. All three. I'm so very glad. I'm glad the quality is okay. I don't want to go on too long because we have our encounter tomorrow. Maybe I'll jump on Instagram live with Eddie and we'll see how that goes as well. Hi, Viviana. We're just jumping on to test our quality before our regularly scheduled program tomorrow. As you guys know, we will be broadcasting tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Central. No, we definitely do. So Samantha has a bearded dragon as well, who actually does participate in our encounters too. We actually do borrow Drogon, and Drogon is actually a female bearded dragon. So we're not going to let Eddie and Drogon hang out together. No, we will not. We don't want any illegitimate children, if you know what I mean. They would probably get along a little too much. And I'm sure Drogon wouldn't really appreciate that either. I don't know, you're just joking. So yeah, we don't recommend cohabitating them together. If you have pet bearded dragons, and maybe you've purchased 2 baby bearded dragons from a reptile show or from a pet store, I recommend splitting those guys up immediately. Either putting a barrier in their enclosure or some kind of separation where you have 2 enclosures. And remember, they're gonna need their own lamps and lights and food bowls. There's many reasons not to cohabitate bearded dragons. One reason is because they may attack one another. A lot of baby bearded dragons actually will eat their siblings' toes, tails, or at least part of the tail, and other parts, and that's not good, right? Or they'll at least try to bite one another because they're curious animals and they're really solitary animals. They shouldn't be in an enclosure together with barriers so they can't get away from one another. Another reason is because of diseases, which is really fun. We're all disease experts here in 2020/2021. We know about viruses, right? So bearded dragons can get something called, oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called, but it's a virus that affects bearded dragons only. Adenovirus, that's what it's called, adenovirus. Adenovirus can affect bearded dragons and only bearded dragons. It's a strain of adenovirus that affects them. And it's actually fairly common and fairly easy to contract it through, it's basically fecal to oral contact, but that could just mean walking around in the same area that your bearded dragon has previously defecated. So it's extremely easy for a bearded dragon to get it from another bearded dragon. Or if you have contact with one bearded dragon, you've touched them, held them, whatever, and then you go to touch another bearded dragon, you can easily give them that sickness, which is very, very bad, right? So that's another reason to actually, number one, quarantine your animals. As soon as you get them, you want to quarantine them and make sure everything's nice and sanitary. If you want more information about quarantining your pets, contact us. Our number is down below, or you can maybe we'll talk about that one time with getting new animals and quarantining process if you guys are interested. It's a lot to talk about with animal care. It's not just like super easy. But anyway, so you want to actually separate bearded dragons because of that as well. Because if you got one bearded dragon, maybe you got it from one source, and then you pick up another bearded dragon and you put them together, number one, they might fight. They're definitely not going to like being together, and they're not social, so they prefer to be alone. And also, diseases and even parasites and things like that. So you definitely don't want to just cohabitate your animals without knowing what you're doing, breeding, something like that. And we don't recommend breeding unless you're a professional breeder of any kind of animal. So there's a lot of things to consider. We always recommend one reptile per enclosure, depending on the species. Some reptiles do get along just fine. Most of them don't. So if you're curious about which ones can get along, some amphibians get along pretty well and some don't. But as a general rule, we recommend giving each reptile in your care or otherwise its own enclosure to live in. That way there's just nothing to worry about, right? Eddie's on the move today. Look how they move. So a lot of people don't know that bearded dragons can actually move pretty fast. Let me see if you prefer to just grip onto my hand like that. So bearded dragons are actually terrestrial, meaning that they hang out on the ground most of the time, but they can also be arboreal. They can hang out in the trees or up on a branch or a post or a fence or a rock or something like that all over Australia. They're a pretty common lizard seen throughout Australia, right? So you can see them almost anywhere. They can climb a little bit, but a lot of times they'll just kind of be on the ground or like right up on a rock, sunning themselves, etc. Yeah, so we're just on here real quick to check our quality and all of that. Quality control, I suppose. Come at me, bro. That's right. I'm sure Drogon is excited. Drogon's another rescue bearded dragon. So we do recommend if you're ever, we recommend as a company, Once in a Wild, and me, myself, and that's Amanda, we recommend if you are wanting a new pet of any sort that you adopt instead of shopping as your first choice. Now, if you are just not able to adopt or you can't find what you're interested in, I mean, there's many reasons why you wouldn't adopt. Maybe you're a brand new reptile person and you need a lot of education about that kind of stuff. Maybe you want to support a local breeder. There's nothing wrong with that as well. We just recommend doing lots and lots of research, adopting if you can, because a lot of these animals, just like Eddie and just like Drogon, need homes. So some people do adopt bearded dragons and all sorts of other animals, and then they change their mind or something doesn't work out. Life happens, and then they rehome them. Hopefully you responsibly rehome your animals if that happens. And with Drogon's case, I believe that was the case. I'm not 100% sure about her total background, but she did end up in a reptile rescue group. And that's how my friend Samantha, who was commenting, got Drogon. And Drogon's wonderful and an adult bearded dragon and needed a home. Eddie, of course, showed up on someone's doorstep, whether it was front or back porch, I'm not sure, and needed a home that way. So hopefully this didn't happen, but we assume or guess that Eddie was actually let go. Since nobody claimed him in the area after they had searched for a long time, nobody wanted to admit this, but a lot of times this does happen where people will change their mind about an exotic pet or even a domestic pet like a dog or a cat or a rabbit, and they will just let them go outside. That is extremely irresponsible. It's almost always a death sentence for those animals because most of them are not native to the area that you're in. So bearded dragons are native to Australia. It doesn't really get that cold in Australia. It may be South Texas, but it does snow here on occasion like it did the other day. So if Eddie had been out during the winter time and it had gotten into the low 30s and 20s, he would not have made it. So that would have not been good for him. And that goes for most of the United States. It does tend to get colder in the winter, especially overnight. And they definitely wouldn't survive in that case. So it's not a good idea. It's also extremely illegal. It's illegal to abandon your pet. That's cruelty to animals. And it's also, well, it's irresponsible too, right? It's also illegal to release a non-native species, and it's, I believe, illegal to release a native species if you are not allowed to do so. I could be wrong. I think that's actually kind of a gray area depending on the situation, but if you were actually to, maybe you see like a hawk or something like that in need, and you deliver it to a rehab center, those people have to have special licensing and everything to re-release that animal too, to my knowledge. So it's definitely not something you just want to do at your whim. So it's definitely a process, and there's reasons for that. So my point being is if you have a pet that you can no longer care for, say it's a rabbit, don't re-release the rabbit into the wild. It's domesticated. It won't make it. It won't survive. It doesn't know what it's doing, and it certainly won't thrive in the wild for sure. That is definitely not the right thing to do. If you have a pet bird, same thing. If you have a pet bearded dragon and you no longer wish to take care of that bearded dragon, please just find a responsible home for that bearded dragon or find a rescue group that can help you. That's the right thing to do. And before you even get that lizard or whatever you are getting, dog or cat too, do all of your research. Make sure it's the right decision for you, then it's right for the animal as well before you just impulse buy a pet of any kind, right? So Eddie was lucky enough to have the help of my friend and my friend's neighbor to rescue him. And then he's going to end up here once in a while where he's going to live out the rest of his life. We hope happy and healthy, right? To the best of our ability. And Eddie's a very welcome member of Once in a Wild. So once again, if you have never seen this show before, welcome. We are just about to say goodbye because we are just going to show one animal today as a bit of a test or a short run here on a Tuesday. But we usually do broadcast every single Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central, and we are going to do so tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So we hope to see you tomorrow. Hopefully it will be just as crystal clear as today. I'm going to watch the playback right now to see how it looks, and hopefully it looks good. You guys said it looked good at the beginning, so I have high hopes, and we're glad to find solutions to our problems. But if it isn't, I hope you understand that we're doing our very best with our quality control and the technology that we have. That's just real life, right? But we will be here regardless tomorrow to talk to you guys about more animals. You're going to be in for a really fun treat tomorrow. We have some new animals to introduce you guys to, and I can't wait for you guys to see them because they're extra, extra adorable. And we'll see you tomorrow, Viviana. Alrighty, sounds good. Oh, you'll lose connection. Yep, that's another issue is if you live in an area with no connection. I mean, that's obviously another issue. Now, again, if you've never seen our programming before, we do broadcast live every single Wednesday for free, but we do have tipping and donation abilities or options for you guys. If you like what you see here and you want to support what Once in a Wild does for our community, we do educate with our animals and bring animals for animal therapy and all sorts of really fun and positive interactions with animals all over the San Antonio, Texas area, as well as virtually to anyone all over the world, as long as you have the internet. So feel free to book your own personal encounter if you would like to support us. That does keep us going and keeps our animals fed and taken care of because they are living creatures and need all of that regardless of a pandemic, right? So the best way to help us out is by booking your own virtual encounter or in-person encounter if you happen to live in San Antonio, Texas. Or you can actually tip or donate directly to Once in a Wild via Venmo or Cash App, and also PayPal, which is the same handle all around at Once in a Wild is how you can find our Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. And onceinawild.com also has a list, and it's an Amazon wish list, which you can actually donate animal items to our animals that way, which is a really fun way to help us out as well. But we will see you guys tomorrow here on our regularly scheduled time, which is 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night. That's Central Time, of course, since we are in Texas. Alrighty, Eddie, why don't you say hello and goodbye? Hello, goodbye. And we'll play our theme song to close out really quick. And I think I'm going to pop over on Instagram Live if you guys are interested in hanging out over there with me. So without further ado, we're going to say goodbye. Bye.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you tomorrow night, which is Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central. We'll see you tomorrow on Facebook and YouTube. Bye.